CTV's political commentator Scott Reid joining us as usual for our topics on politics. So Scott, good to see you. Yeah,
we're not talking real estate. We're talking tariffs, of course, because that's the biggest headline of the last 6 months realistically, and it continues to dominate. Mark Carney's meeting with his cabinet today to talk about the 35% tariffs plus the other tariffs added on, and still no real public response at this point.
That's right. And so this meeting today has been triggered by the letter we received from the President of the United States last week saying anything that's not covered by the free trade agreement that's in place will be tariffed at 35%. Also moved the talks deadline from July 21st to August 1st. So I think I'm going to be watching for two things. First of all, let's get an update, right?
Yeah.
So what will we hear from the Prime Minister? Because, you know, this thing has been a locked room mystery, these negotiations. What's on the table? What are the Americans demanding? What's the structure of these talks even look like? None of those questions have been answered, in part because you don't want to negotiate in public. You don't want to compromise your position. But also, you know, there's a lot at stake. Will a deal pop up on August 1st or not? Which takes me to the second thing. Will we get a hint of a plan B? So far, the Prime Minister has contemplated no suggestion whatsoever that these talks might not succeed. But what if Trump actually means it this time? What if August 1st blows by? Because we know he's written letters to other countries. So what if there is no deal? What then? What do we do? What would the impact be on our economy, on our trading relationships? What might be tariffed? What might not? How much is that going to cost us? What's it going to mean in terms of lost jobs, industry? So I'll be watching to see if the Prime Minister hints a little bit at that.
Are you surprised that there hasn't been more specificity to this point, or did it need to wait till today and have this meeting before we kind of get there?
I was surprised in the immediate term. And you know what? But the Prime Minister might have been proven right, his instincts. He's always puts oil on the water, always chills. You know what I mean? So the ferocity of Trump, the intensity of that letter, well, then, of course, you know, we get letters to Mexico, we get letters to the EU. And so I think by taking a breath and not having a sort of a, you know, full court press response might have actually played well, because now we see, well, this is a global strategy on the part of the Americas and not simply targeting Canada, but nevertheless, it has monstrous implications for us. So what will we do next? And I think increasingly people are starting to ask the question, well, what if there isn't a deal? Like, what does that world mean? I mean, literally,
we're all wondering.
Talk to people in Windsor, talk to people in Oakville. They go like, well, does that mean the auto industry is cooked? Like, what's going to happen?
Right, and you speak of, you know, monstrous, and this tariff thing is becoming that monster from the substance. There's just so many pieces you can't keep track of, and it's really dominating all levels of government. Scott, the premiers of the provinces, they're also having a meeting to talk about this as well.
So next week we'll get what we call the Council of Federations, where the premiers under their own steam gather together, and the Prime Minister has kind of invited himself as part of this process, right? Saying, look,
that's rare for a Prime Minister to want to go to the Council of Federation too.
Yeah, because usually they sit around the table and they agree that the federal government should give them more money. So that's a meeting you don't want to be at if you're the Prime Minister. You walk out of there and your wallet's missing, right? So, but in this case, he wants to be there again, I think, to update the premiers, talk them through where we're at in the negotiations. In that meeting, I'll be watching. That would be chaired by Premier Ford, still as the chair of the Federation Council of the Federation. I'll be curious to see how this sort of consensus among premiers holds together, because the tougher these negotiations get, the more you will hear from some voices saying, we got to play the energy card, man. Like, you want to put the Americans up against the wall. You tell them that electricity will not be turned on. You want to put them up against the wall. You tell them that oil and gas will not flow. But that would break down the sort of pan-Canadian consensus. So where are they at on that discussion? And will we get more details of the negotiations leaking out of that FedProv meeting?
Okay, we'll watch for that. Super quickly, though, Scott, municipally, a poll came out, Liaison Strategy, suggesting, you know, if John Tory gets into the race, Chow wins, but by a much narrower margin. But if Tory's not in, it's a pretty wide open field for Chow to sort of take 2 years away.
This poll, a year and a half, this poll has got the chickens clucking.
It sure does.
You betcha, man, because everyone's looking at it and you kind of go, there's something you can take away from it. So if you're not Olivia Chow, right, you look at this and you go, man, it's going to be tough. There isn't an overwhelming desire for change in the city, right? Her job approval they think her job approval has come down slightly. It's still very high for an incumbent. Still, you know, there doesn't appear to be a change attitude. And if Tory runs, sure, it does look like he's very competitive, but he's got baggage. This poll shows that his negatives are really high. Older women do not want to vote for John Tory. You have to assume that has everything to do with the circumstances under which he departed office. So the takeaway is this. she's in the driver's seat. If Tory runs, it could be a race, but it will be a fascinating race, and there's no certainty that she will lose. If he doesn't run, then one of these other candidates will have to step up, or it's a walk-away win for Mayor Chow.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens.
It's going to be fascinating. This is really the start. This poll, I think, is a starter's pistol
kind of feels like
of the mayor's race.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
really is.
We got to end it there, unfortunately.
Okay.
Though. Yeah.
Thanks, Scott. Always fascinating. Appreciate your time.
I'm going to go perspire.
Okay. Yeah. Right.